Hi everyone, thanks for joining. We're just going to give a couple of minutes just for a few more people to join. So while you're waiting, just grab a coffee, relax, and we'll get started in a couple of minutes.
Hi Sam, thank you very much. Hi Tom.
Hello.
Hope you're doing well.
Yes, I'm fine. And you?
Yeah, doing well. Thank you.
Okay.
Right then, hi everyone. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon, depending where you are in the world. Thank you for joining us. We'll hopefully have a few more join in as we get started, but we'll just go through some of the initial information and then we'll get on with the session. Just a few bits on the screen for you. So please keep yourself on mute throughout the session until it's your opportunity to speak, just so that we can limit any of the background noise or any interruptions. If you want to speak, then please use the raise hand function on Zoom, or if you can't find that, then pop us a message in the chat or put your hand up on the screen and we'll try and keep an eye out for that. Just for your information, we are recording the session and we are streaming it on our workplace platform for IFCPF members. So hopefully we'll use some of the video clips and recordings afterwards as part of the EU project that we're involved in, and some of the evidence that we have to submit. If you want to, then you are welcome to use the chat function if you want to share any information, any links from anything that comes up, or any questions. Please pop them in the chat as well. So use that. Of course, as always, please be respectful. We'll hopefully share some different ideas, different opinions, some discussion around coaching and coach education. So we have a good group of people on the session, hopefully with lots of different ideas. And then lastly, following on from the session, IFCPF have 3 groups on Facebook for CP football, for the female game, and then also for frame football as well. So please use those Facebook groups for sharing any information from your program, your country, or any discussions around CP football or any other thoughts from today as well. Okay, so just to share with you that this session is part of our education program at IFCPF, but also part of a EU project that we're part of with a number of partners and support from the European Union. And the idea is about how we can develop coaching within parasport, and specifically here for CP football. And we've got some discussion themes for today to share some information. Okay, so we've got two representatives from IFCPF who I asked to join the session today to share some of their experience. So we've got our technical director, Tom Langen, who is the former head coach of the Netherlands CP football team. Many highly successful Paralympic Games and events as a head coach, and also a wider involvement in parasport as well. I'll let Tom share more throughout the session today about his experience and his background, and hopefully how he came into that position and his pathway in coach development. And then also we have Paulo Cruz. So Paulo is our technical manager and oversees our technical committee. Paulo's also the former head coach for the Brazilian national team. Really interesting that we've got two very different national teams, styles of play, and also hopefully a lot of good background from Paulo, his experience across other para sports, and now his involvement in other types of football as well. So thank you to both Tom and Paulo for joining the session. We'll let them lead on each of the topics to share their background, but then we'll open to anyone else to share or to ask questions. Today is not a presentation. It is about discussion and sharing ideas and getting your thoughts and feedback as we go. Okay, I'm going to stop sharing the screen. But first of all, Tom, if you're there, maybe if you can share with us kind of your thoughts or your thoughts over time about coaching, para coaching. Is it seen as an important area, a separate area, or is it just part of football coaching, or are there any differences? Tom, you're on mute at the moment.
So maybe first a little bit of my background. In 1978, I started, in 1977, I started as a teacher in a special school for people with a physical disability. And I'm from the Netherlands, and in the Netherlands, football is very popular. So also for children with a disability, with a physical disability, but there were no opportunities. And so I started to train just a group of students that were interested in football and who loved football. And I was a football player in that time. I was still a football player, so I had some knowledge about football, but not too much about coaching, because most of the football players think they are also a coach. But I can tell you, and there are a lot of examples in the world, that not every successful football player, and even I was not so successful as a football player, are not always good coaches. But the players had fun, and so I want to keep my story short. In 1986, I was appointed as the head coach of the Dutch CP football team, and I saw that it's necessary to have some more coaching background. Not only my background as a football player, but I needed also education in coaching. So I started to follow UEFA C license. That was delivered by our National Football Association, the KNVB, the Dutch Football Association. And after 1 year, I passed the exam. So I started also with the UEFA B license. So my background was growing. And I think most of the things in para football coaching or in CP football coaching are very similar to mainstream football. But of course, there are some differences, very important differences. And I think one of the most a difference in coaching para football and mainstream football is, of course, that you need knowledge about classification. Because if you have no knowledge about classification, you can make the wrong decisions, the wrong choices to select your teams or to select your players. So when you are in a grassroots level, classification is totally not important, because it's just that players can play and just have fun. But the more you grow to the elite level, it's important to have knowledge about classification. So that's one part, that in a coach education for para coaches, the classification should be part of the education. A second difference is that, of course, players have some limitations. And for a mainstream football coach, it's very normal that you can use your right leg and you can use your left leg. But in CP football, for instance, you have a lot of players with a hemiplegic who can only use one part of the body. So you need to adapt your training in some kind, in some exercises. You have to take into account the physical disability of the players. You can teach that, but it's also a lot of experience you need to. So the more years you are involved in the coaching, it's always a learning process that never stops. So to take into account the disability and the coach education, the classification, that are the two main differences from mainstream football and para football or CP football. And I think for 90% it's the same. So my advice to every coach who has ambition in para football is first to follow education with your National Football Federation, to learn the basic of coaching, because I think the Football Federation is responsible for that education program. And then if you want to be more specific in para football or in CP football, then I think IFCPF can deliver a coach education program where we go more in detail about classification and the specific adjustments you need to make as a coach.
Okay. Thank you, Tom. Yeah, we'll come on to a few more of those bits as we go through the other points as well. But Paolo, interested to hear, does your journey into CP football coaching match with Tom, or is it different? What was the first course that you took to become a coach?
Yes, good morning for me. It's good morning, so it's very good to be here. Thank you for the invitation. So I start a little different from Tom, because I had absolutely no experience working with people with disabilities, and but I also was a futsal player, and I taught on the university futsal for the students for physical education. But at that time there was no classes for the students of physical education about adapted physical education or physical education for disabled. And then one day I was invited by one person that knew that I worked in the university and teaching futsal for the students. So you are the one I'm looking for, because I have an amputee football futsal team, and you will be the coach. And I panicked because I never heard that people with amputations could play football. Never. And then, but one thing was telling me, you have to accept, and then I accepted, and was very interesting. It was my first step in this universe. And then I start coaching. I, as Tom said, adapting my knowledge to the game, to the characteristics of the game. And 1 year after, I also was invited to coach to be the head coach of the CP football team, the same club, the same project that we had here in Rio. And then of course I made the adaptations. As Tom said, it's very important because we know about football, we have the knowledge, but you have to make the adaptations, of course, to make the players play in their best performance. And then we became the national champion with this team of CP football. And then I was invited to, in 1995, I was invited to be the head coach of the national team from Brazil. And I stayed with this position for 17 years. Since Atlanta 1996 up to London 2012, and know a lot of international competitions. I was involved with the World Championships, America Cup. So it was a long journey, and I learned a lot. I met so many good people. I became very close to CP Israel by Mr. Bob Fisher, and also Tom Longen after invited me to carry on this position. And now I worked for the organizing committee of Rio 2016 Paralympic Games. I was the sport manager of CP football. And that, when what Tom said, it's the pure reality. We have of course, it's very good to know about football, because there are many key things that if you don't have a formal experience on football, it will be very hard to make the adaptations needed for the disability that the players show. Today, I also work with power chair football here in Rio. It's a very interesting sport, and it's being very amazing, because I have the ideas in my head regarding football skills, football tactics, and technical. And then I have to make them play and try to make them understand what kind of plays they have to do. So the app Tom said about adaptation, and of course classification, because when you are looking, for instance, and maybe we'll talk about it later today, but even if you see immediately one person that can be eligible to play any kind of para sport, then in your mind you have already to make a very quick classification to understand. For instance, if he is eligible, of course we cannot do it immediately, but in our mind, if we know that, we can this guy probably can play this sport no matter what it is, amputee, CP football, power chair, and any other. So and I think that's what I had to say at the moment. Sam.
Thank you, Paolo. So just wanted to put the question out there to other people in the group. How did you get started in the area of CP football? What was the first kind of coach education or coach development experience that you had coming into the game. So I don't know if there's anyone who'd like to comment or share their experience. I know that for me, you know, I got involved in regular football to start, for like my brother's regular football team. And then I saw a coach education opportunity with the FA in England for coaching players with a disability. And I did that course. And then at that time, when I was around 15, 16 years old, and then I decided that that was the area for me. So quite early, I managed to do that specific course around disability. But I know that since then, there wasn't really any further specific courses around para coaching or CP coaching until I became involved with you know, with the International Federation. But yeah, I don't know if others on the call, if you've done regular coaching qualifications, so for mainstream football, or if you've managed to do any specific courses. I know that Tom mentioned about the UEFA pathway and having done the C license and the B license and that pathway. But I know that in other regions, it's slightly different.
Sam, can I say one thing? For instance, here in Brazil, we don't have these courses to be a coach. There are no this leveling. What is just needed here is to be a physical education teacher. So the teams invite the ones who are interested to be a head coach. If they have the background on football, then it's okay. And also a physical education teacher. This is mandatory here in Brazil.
Okay. Yeah, no, interesting when we make that comparison, you know, across world regions and everything. I know that the UEFA and CONMEBOL partnership is now looking to align more of that coach education to make them similar, hopefully in the future. Obviously, the Asian Football Confederation match in a similar way to the UEFA pathway, but yeah, I think an important consideration when we're looking at para coaching worldwide, that not the same football qualifications exist. So therefore, when we're looking at para coaching, it's also quite different.
Here in the Netherlands, we have a very extended pathway. We have a lot of coach education courses for youth players, for under 6, for under 8, for under 10, for under 12, for under 18. And the Dutch Football Federation also delivers a course, para football, but it's not specific for CP football. It's more a general course with information about all the disabilities that are playing, like amputee, like intellectual disabilities, CP, blind. So all these disabilities are part of the course. So, and it's a very simple course of I think it's 3 or 4 meetings of 2 hours.
Sean, I don't know if you're there, if you want to share a little bit about your journey being head coach of the Ireland national team currently. You know, we've got two of the older coaches in the room who've now stepped down from the national team and had a long experience in a different pathway. But now to hear you as a younger national team coach, you know, coming into it at a different time, whether your experience and your coach education was different to that.
Yeah, look, great to see us all again, guys. Thanks for inviting us on. Mine mine, I guess, is similar to a way. I would have just recently graduated from college here in Ireland, but it's an FAI specific course that is ran by our governing body. So it was a 4-year level 8 degree, and it focused on sports management coaching, but it also allowed us to play during them 4 years. So I would have kind of half played and gone through my degree as well. My experience then in coaching, I would have started around 16, and like Tom had said there, we have quite a lot of coach education courses from coaching 6-year-olds right the way up to elite level. So around 16, I would have started on the pathway then. Quite a lot of courses to go through, and from 16 up until I think about 2 years ago now, then would have received my UEFA A license. So that's kind of the pathway that I have been on. My coaching was all around mainstream. I would have coached in our national league here, underage academy, so the likes of Longford Town or Dundalk Football Club is where I would have got all my experience. And then just before Seville 2019, I would have been asked by the governing body to go in as the assistant manager for previous head coach Paul Breen. And that's where I would have got my first taste of CP football, and I would have learned a lot about it. But I guess no, we don't have any specific courses. We very much learned on the job. I would have learned a lot from previous program coordinator for us, Shane Jordan, and Paul Breen, and then kind of picking the brains of previous managers before that, Barry Ferguson, JJ Glynn, learning what's kind of the best way or the best approach around things, and then just I guess taking what I liked from all of them and trying to make my own style and then go from there. So yeah, last year or the tournament just gone was fantastic. It was my first experience as head coach with the national team. So yeah, look, that's kind of my background on it. Still very much new to the game, still learning a lot. So I think the more coach education we can develop for coaches coming through would definitely help the game.
Brilliant. Thank you for that, Sean. And just around this kind of first discussion point around para coaching for everyone on the call really is around what do you think is that perception around coaching within disability and para sport? I know it's a question that I always get asked. Why do you work in the area of disability and para? And I have my own reasons about my interest and love of the game in that area, but interesting to put the question to all of you, what is that perception when you talk to people, or your experience over time? Is it seen as being the same as coaching in mainstream regular football, or do you think it's not perceived as attractive or exciting? But I don't know, in different countries, where do you think it sits for people? Is it something that is really interesting or exciting to coaches coming through? Tom, from IFCPF education and from your experience with the KNVB, do you think many coaches see CP football and para coaching as the same as regular coaching?
Oh, I don't think so. I think most of the coaches that become a coach want to do mainstream football and want to go a pathway to the top level. I think all the coaches that start want to become a top coach, and in mainstream football you can earn a lot of money when you are a top coach. And even on when you go in amateur football, you can earn a lot of money in coaching in the Netherlands. You can, but and I think in CP football and para coaching, there is not a lot of money involved. So it's only people who are who has a click with the disability group. And I don't know how that click. I don't know the word. How people get the click, I don't know. I was triggered when I teach the students in school, and I saw how passionate and how pure and how enthusiastic they were in football. Even at the time they were top level players in international CP football. The enthusiasm and the spirit and how the things feel, and so that was my trigger, and that was why I was always because I'm not interested in money. I'm interested in the sport and in the people, and so that was my my biggest motivation to keep involved with CP football. I did also mainstream coaching, but only youth players, because I was not so interested in adult football.
And
So
what do
I
you
think
think?
The way the CP players play the game, the enthusiasm, it's always there. They always enjoy it. So
Tom, do you think that sometimes para coaching, disability coaching is maybe seen as, okay, we provide nice football for people with disabilities, so they just have an inclusive opportunity, but do you think that people really understand the performance and the technical ability of these players as well? Because a lot of the time it's maybe seen as maybe a social responsibility type of activity.
yeah,
I think the ability of coaches within CP football, from our knowledge, but do you think that perception is there that actually these are very highly qualified, experienced coaches who know the game?
Yeah. I'm quite convinced that a lot of people don't know even about the level in disability sport in general. So they have no idea. They even don't know what the difference is between Paralympics and Special Olympics. So and also for CP football, they have no knowledge about the qualities. Sometimes I tell stories about, for instance, last year, I heard from one of our international referees that the Russian CP team beat the professional club in a 7-7 game in Uzbekistan. They were on training camp and played a professional team, and I know that most of the players of the Russian CP team are playing in the highest level in Russia in an 8-8 competition, mainstream. In Moscow, there are 2 divisions, and they play at that level. And I'm quite convinced that most of the people, also in the football world, have no idea about the level of CP football. And I think in their mind, a coach in disability football is not as much awarded, recognized as a coach in mainstream football.
Thank you, Tom. Nick, so in Australia, saw your hand up. So Nick's involved with the national team and the performance analysis and also coach education within CP football. Yeah, Nick?
Yeah, I think, I will say good evening, guys. It's evening over here. There's a perception and there's a feeling over here that CP football is harder to coach than the mainstream. And when coaches want to come across and work in CP football, they're restricted to how they can upskill themselves. And I think that's, and we go, well, okay, how can we upskill? If a coach does a course here that deals with 7-a-side, he's dealing with a course that is working on children that are age 7 7 to 9. And so that's where it's an issue over here where you go, well, we need to be able to upskill a coach so he can coach adults that are CP, not just dealing with a 7-year-old or an 8-year-old. So the easy option is to go down the mainstream and work with able bodies and work your way up through working with the under 10s, under 15s, and then all age. I'm not sure what it's like within the other countries.
Well, that's really interesting, Nick, and especially when you say about it being more of a challenge for the coaches working in CP football, because I think a lot of the time it's seen as, oh, disability or CP or something. Oh, well, that's something that's very easy because it's maybe not as skilled or technical or whatever. But actually, I know from my personal experience has always been that actually our coaches working in the disability and CP game are probably more skilled than a lot of the coaches working in the mainstream game, because they have that understanding of football, but then that ability to change, to tweak, and to adapt to the players who are in front of them, and to develop, each individual. Whereas in regular football, you maybe don't have to do that as much as we do within the CP game. But definitely, yeah, when we're talking about the coach education route, how we provide some of that specific content for, the CP game or other forms of the para game is really important.
So I just got one more thing, if that's all right, Sam.
Yep. Yeah, go for it.
So leading into this chat, I dug into what FIFA were looking at with regards to coach education and where they see how that sits and how would it sit within Australia. And there was 4 things that they looked at, which was e-learning programs, online courses, on-site courses, and individual mentoring. So then we look at how many of them do we offer in each quarter of the year. And I looked at that, and I think that's a good thing we could do with power football. Where do we sit within that in our coach development?
Yeah, definitely, really, really important to stay aware of what the regular or mainstream football governance and development is doing, and then how we try and build and tweak that for us as well. But yeah, so that's really around our next point then, of that development of para coaching. I know that a few people have touched on that kind of regular football coach education pathway, but then also some of those opportunities around para sport, disability, CP specific. Be really interested to hear from people around what has been your experience on that specific side of things. So we've heard a lot on the regular coaching, but I know that throughout my personal development, I went and did a lot of courses around specific types of disability, or maybe even in other sports, to get ideas, because there wasn't a lot around CP football or other types of football for disability. But what education or what things have people done to get that better understanding of para sport and coaching para players? Tom, did you have any experience when you were working in when the team was previously under the National Paralympic Committee or anything?
No. It was a journey that was the most of the knowledge about the adjustments in the training was from my own experience, because I started already training the players in 1978, and the rest of the knowledge of para sports was because I was the coach of the team, and I traveled to a lot of international tournaments, So I became involved with classification, because when I started, I had zero knowledge about parasport and about classification and rules and etc. So it was a practical learning. I learned it during my journey, and I had no special education. And I think we should deliver some special education to help coaches, new coaches, to make it easier for them.
Yeah, and I think there's this. I know that I've spoken with different people in England and also in other countries, mainly in CP football, but other types of football that because maybe there are not a lot of coaches within a country. Nick, it sounds like you've got a good group of coaches and a good target audience kind of there. But when we haven't got that number of coaches, it's hard to deliver coach education courses. I know that the coaching for disability football in England has now moved to a short online course, where it was previously a face-to-face, 1 day course. That's now stopped because of the number of coaches who wanted to take it. So we have some of those challenges, but then also, where do national team coaches go for their coach education as well? If you're the highest level coach within your country, then it's very hard, unless you're doing the regular football coaching courses, to then find other courses for you to do. I know that we're working on more things in IFCPF, but interesting to hear from different people there around the ways that you've gone about developing yourselves. Like Tom said, around attending tournaments. Sean said about shadowing other coaches and picking their brains and taking some ideas. But yeah, kind of moving on to this kind of knowledge transfer, how we do it. I think Nick mentioned some good points there around online, face-to-face, those different types of methods. But I'd be interested to hear, we all have our own kind of preferred learning styles and everything, but what have been the most effective ways for people on the call around that learning? Actually, we're now moving to a lot of online as technology develops and coming through the COVID pandemic. But what have been your most kind of memorable or influential learning and development experiences?
In my case, as Tom, and when I started, it was completely different, because as Tom said, I have zero knowledge about disabilities at all. But today, I think it's growing here in Brazil, even because the parasport is being on the TV. Of course, not CP football, but especially other para sports. And the people are even the professional for physical education professional, they are becoming interested in participating. But of course, here we can't work only with as a head coach of CP football, for instance, because you don't get paid enough so we have to work with the schools and any other positions, because we need money to survive. So, but today, for instance, we have many courses that are organized by the National Association of CP CP Sports here, ANDE. So tomorrow, for instance, I have a chat I have a seminar, and I was invited to speak about CP football. So many people are invited to come, not only physical education, but many physiotherapists and other professionals that are related to the areas of the disability. And it's good because we with these courses, with this seminar here, we try to make other professionals interested in being part of CP football, for instance. And this is one thing that is different from the time I started, because I have nothing. I had to learn day by day, an experience that I was living day by day. And then what I know today, of course, it was because of this effort and the contacts I had during the years with people that have more experience in the sport.
Kavita in India, I don't know if you're there, but I know that CPSFI is a relatively new organisation in the CP world, but an organisation that's formed a very strong partnership with the government and with the All India Football Federation. I don't know if there was what your experience has been so far in forming the new organisation and then working really hard through all your initiatives to find and to train coaches. What have you found as kind of the biggest challenges, or what have you found as the successes in working with those coaches?
Hi, good evening, everyone. All of you are veterans in football. I'm more, I have been more in the admin and management of para sports, specifically CP sports. Yeah, as Sam said, we have been recently recognized by the Ministry of Sports as NSF in India. That means we have the mandate to promote CP sports in the country, promote CP sports in the country. So having said that, we recently conducted our National Athletics Championship, which was a huge success. And we have announced National CP Football Championship. In the month of August, 11th to 14th, we plan to conduct it in Delhi. And yeah, I was in Delhi last week trying to meet people who can help us put this tournament together. We are having a huge challenge in the sense there are a lot of children who want to take up football. There are multiple challenges. There are a lot of children who want to take up football. And these participants will come to Delhi representing their respective states. And one big challenge is the states may not have the composition that is required to play football, CP football. So one is how do we handle? Two is how do we also handle the large number, because we are looking at 2 days of classification and 2 days of matches. And also during these 4 days, we are looking at putting probably identifying 25 players who can eventually become the India CP football team. So Sam, this is one thing we definitely wanted to come back. I returned back to Bangalore only this morning, and I thought we'll probably have a discussion with you as to how to address these challenges. Yesterday, we met a bunch of people who, meaning I don't know if you're aware, the All India Football Federation, as of now, the management is suspended for reasons, with respect to complying with the National Sports Code. But then they have formed a committee and have been introduced to people who can help us with coaches, because we definitely need technical support to conduct this championship we are expecting 150, but we want to limit it to 100, which is not something that we are very happy about. We do not want to definitely limit individuals who want to take up football. But then we also have this huge challenge of addressing classification and also conducting a championship. But then, yes, there are a lot of players wanting to take up. We definitely are looking at, I think Rajesh had a telephone call with you. We definitely want to start having a pool of coaches. They could be able-bodied coaches, the regular football coaches already, or our own, like Kailash is on the call. He is aspiring to be a CP football coach. meaning specifically CP football. So we want to train coaches. That's the very reason that I thought I'll be part of this discussion and understand how the other countries are doing it. But then we want to definitely create a pool of trained coaches in India. I would definitely look up to IFCPF to help us guide us on how to go about doing this.
Brilliant. Thank you, Kavita. Kailash, if you're there, you've just been mentioned by Kavita. Interesting, we've got a number of experienced coaches with national teams and things here, different stages of their journey. But to hear, you coming in as a new coach, be interested to just know, how have you got started? Where have you started to find information, and what's going to help you best as a coach? So I don't know if you're there, if you can unmute, if you want to share.
So hello, everyone. First of all, thank you, Kavita ma'am and Rajesh Tomasa, for giving me an opportunity to become a coach in CP football. So first of all, I am from physical education background, and I have a knowledge about football. But coming to the CP, it's little bit challenging for me to understand the CP and how to train them and how to make them understand about means there are small changes in normal football and CP football. So I'm still studying it. I'm still learning it under the guidance of Kavita ma'am and Thomas sir. And so they guide me that on the upcoming August, we have a national championship, and might be the international classifiers, or maybe you or your along with your means members from the IFCPF are coming. So, and might be in the vision of CPSFI, they have trained to coaches in particular CP football. So I'm still in touch with the CPSFI to become a national coach. And along with me, there are lots of persons who are very interested to become a coach in CP football. So we are very interesting to understand and to become the CP football coach for the India. And we are also looking forward to become coaches in India, as well as to become some kind of volunteer or something else in the IFCPF. So this all from my side. Thank you so much.
Brilliant. Thank you for sharing, and great to know that there's so many coaches there who hopefully we can reach out to and get involved in the game and support the organisation. Yeah, so really just the kind of last little bit before we finish for today was just to share, IFCPF have been working on coach education. We launched an online learning platform, and we're steadily developing more courses on that online learning platform. And we also have, some of our face-to-face education that we deliver in new countries. But yeah, as a small international federation, it's always finding those most effective ways and things that we can do to support all levels of the game, national team coaches, all the way through to those delivering, just regular CP football sessions for children, for new players, or coaches just starting out on their journey. So really, what ideas do people have, or what would you like from IFCPF or your national governing body, around that coach development, and to help you as coaches, or to help the coaches that you work with? What do you think the future holds, and what should we be doing to support coaches? Or to start off, Tom, maybe I'll come to you first and just say, you're highly experienced in delivering our course in new countries.
Yes.
What have coaches on those courses asked of you, or what have they wanted us to do next with them?
Yes. First of all, I think it's important that when we go to a new country, in the moment we have 2 courses on the learning platform as an introduction to classification, and introduction in to CP football. I think they should first do that courses on the learning platform. I think it's always an extra when you can deliver a face-to-face course, because I think a face-to-face course is always the most effective way to teach others. What we have to make sure when we deliver a course, that we have the right people in the course, because from my experience, we had the range of people involved in the course was too wide. So we had parents, we had administrators, we had coaches, we had all kind of people. So we have to make sure that we have the right people in the course. Of course, it is not in our course. Is also a lot of things that are interested for other people, but I think we should more focus on the technical and on the practical part of the course, and so that we have more football people in the course. When we deliver the course, the question of the participants is always, can you come back? Can you come back? But I think in that stage we should also clear to the countries that of course we can come back, but when we go back, they will ask again, come back. So the countries should take then responsibility to take it over, and maybe in cooperation with IFCPF to look how they can deliver the course by themselves in the country.
I think you made a really good point there about the kind of theory and that side of things. That using maybe we can help learning platform, we can deliver a lot of that information via the online platform, and then focus, that face-to-face course on all the practical stuff where you need to be in person. And I think that's come out through the session today. That balance of seeing the game, being involved in the game is really, really important, but then we can use those other methods to understand the information and the things that we can read in our own time.
And maybe we have also to think about a course for course instructors. So not only a coach education course for new coaches, but also a course for coach tutors, for coach instructors.
Nick.
Yeah, sorry. That was what I was just about to mention, Tom. So over here in Australia, they changed the C license. So it was really important to get the instructors re-educated. And so then the instructors are delivering the same message. And I think we can do that. So if we're going to go into India, for example, the instructor needs to be given the right message across and having that skill set. So an instructor's course, I think it is really important. And then you'd have and then also when we have the courses, it's having a certain criteria, or you need to meet this criteria to come into this course. Because we have an issue with the C license here where there's no criteria, and you've got a ex-professional and a parent playing grassroots football on the same course. And I'm the instructor on the course, and it's really hard to deliver that course.
Yeah, that's right. I think that's very important. The same message, to deliver the same message is very important, so that it's a responsibility of IFCPF to our course instructors. But then also, I think we should also think about developing a course for people who want to do a course in their own country.
Because
and maybe
obviously,
maybe that is something I'm now thinking loud. When we deliver a course in the country, you have you meet the people, and then maybe you can. Our course is 3 days, so you know the people after 3 days. You know them a little bit, and maybe we can make a selection. He could be a good course instructor. He could be a good course instructor to deliver the course in their country. And then we make a group of people. When we have delivered 3 or 4 or 5 courses, then we have maybe 5 to 10 people, and then we deliver a course to that 10 people who can then deliver the course in their own country.
yeah,
That's just an idea. I'm now thinking loud.
yeah. Because when we have a C license, we identify. Well, we try and identify someone who could be an instructor of a certain level within their area.
Yeah.
Because
in the Netherlands, it's completely different to deliver a course for KNVB, for the Dutch Football Association. You need to have a A license, and some exceptions a B license, and you need a teaching background to deliver a course. And we have also set a lot of criteria before you can start the C license.
yeah,
Just to share actually on that, through our partnership with UEFA, so the funding that we receive, part of our program of this season and next season, one route that we're taking is around matching with that standard coach education pathway, so that if coaches take the, it's different in every country, but like the D license or the C license or the B license, the idea or the way that we're currently working is that we will offer online education course to add the CP specific content relevant for that level of coach. So if you've done your D license working with kind of grassroots players or children, that then we will say, okay, here is the online education to support you at that level of coaching, but to have a CP specific understanding. So that's where we're working with the regular football, mainstream football governance and education pathway to hopefully join that up. And now that that's becoming a bit more connected in regular football, like I said, the partnership between CONMEBOL and UEFA, and also the links between AFC and UEFA. And another thing that we've got as part of our agreement with UEFA is around developing that course instructors course as well. So I think now from some of the discussion today, we can, like Tom shared and you shared, Nick, is around developing the IFCPF tutor pool, but then also offering that education course for our member organizations across the world in how to deliver a national level CP football course, I think is how we can really maximize and have that wider reach. Okay, so before we finish today, is there anything else that anyone wants to share around their kind of experience or anything around para coaching and CP football coaching before we finish? Okay, well, if there's any other questions or any other thoughts, then you can reach out to IFCPF. I think most of you or others have my email address or the general contact form through our website, also the social media. But please do join those Facebook groups, share things on there, any information. And as we continue to develop our coach education program across the face-to-face, the online, things such as this talk today, then please let us know how we can best support you and how we can continue to build that. But otherwise, thank you all for joining. Thank you all for being part of the session. Hopefully it's been interesting and useful to you. And I know that Tom, Paolo and I have noted down some things that we can discuss and take forward with the IFCPF technical committee and internally in the organisation as well. So thank you all once again. Take care. and hope to see you all soon.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you all.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye bye, my friends.